Good morning and welcome back. Fever. We're still harping on fever. In my last post, we talked about fever. We talked about how fever happens. Macrophages, white blood cells, produce chemicals, stimulating the brain to raise body temperature. I'm going to go into that a little bit more detail, but the real burning question is probably a bit of a poison chalice, and it's the question of, should I be giving paracetamol and ibuprofen? Or ibuprofen. Should I be giving one or the other or both to my patient who has an elevated body temperature? Okay, none of this is opinion. All of this is from the evidence. So don't come at me unless you've got genuine questions. To understand paracetamol and understand ibuprofen, what we need to first do is understand how fever happens. And you'll recall that fever happens because macrophages and monocytes, specialised white blood cells, they release these pyrogenic chemicals that reset the hypothalamus's normal body temperature. So where your body temperature is normally 37 degrees Celsius, a pyrogen is going to tell the hypothalamus, make you hotter, make the temperature higher. And it does that to enhance the immune function, to enhance the infection fighting capacity of your immune system. We've always known that. But how it does that is that these macrophages release pyrogens. Pyro means fire, gen to generate. Pyrogen, generate fire, generate heat. And what these pyrogenic chemicals do is they stimulate the process of an inflammatory chemical called a prostaglandin, specifically. And there's lots of inflammation chemicals. You've heard of prostaglandins. If you haven't, then it doesn't matter. But there's lots of different prostaglandins, and they're given different names. Prostaglandin E2, E, the letter E, 2, number 2. Prostaglandin E2 is the one that is the key player in fever. And prostaglandin E2 is stimulated to be manufactured from these pyrogenic chemicals that are released from your immune system, particularly macrophages, when you're fighting infection. So now we have these prostaglandins, and the hypothalamus responds to these prostaglandins by raising body temperature. So prostaglandins are kind of like a chemical text message, right? When the hypothalamus receives a text message in the language called prostaglandin E2, that text message is pretty much telling it, raise body temperature until we say stop. And so body temperature starts rising. So if you were to give somebody some medication that blocked the manufacture of those prostaglandins, actually stopped prostaglandin production, then of course the hypothalamus would not have anything to respond to, and body temperature stays the same. If you were already really hot, so let's say you had a temperature of 39.5 and somebody gave you a medication that blocked your prostaglandins, then your body temperature will just naturally fall to its preset 37 degrees. It'll start dropping. And that's exactly what paracetamol does. It's a prostaglandin inhibitor. And so is ibuprofen, and so is aspirin, and Celebrex, and all of the anti-inflammatory drugs. Even the steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, all of these drugs inhibit prostaglandins from being produced. So if I can't make prostaglandins, I can't make a fever. So my preset temperature of 37 degrees will become my default. And if I'm already hot, if I'm already febrile, my temperature will fall to that state. Remember, these drugs don't make you cold. These drugs just stop you getting hot. If I gave you Panadol right now, you're not going to get cold. You're just going to maintain temperature for a bit. If you want to know more, let me know in the comments. But our next post, I'm going to tackle febrile convulsions. So look for the febrile convulsion post. See you soon.